George Soros is done. Hedge fund billionaire George Soros is infamous for donating millions to the Hillary Clinton presidential campaign to advance his own globalist agendas. Many believe he is the financial backer responsible for the wave of anti-Trump protests that have erupted since Donald Trump was president. Now, Trump has sent a strong message to an organization backed by Soros. According to reports, Trump appointed Lee Francis Cisna to run United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS. Following his decision, Soros-backed media organization ProPublica has been attacking Trump for enforcing immigration laws and appointing the first person with experience in immigration policy to head the USCIS. ProPublica is not happy with an order sent out by Trump, instruct Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, agents to do their jobs. This comes shortly after Matthew Albanese, the head of Enforcement and Removal Operations Division, sent a memo to his 5,700 employees instructing them to deport illegal immigrants. Effective immediately, ERO officers will take enforcement action against all removable aliens encountered in the course of their duties, Albanese's memo reads. Soros has been betting against thriving economies for years, making a $55 billion bet in the hopes the American economy would fail. Last year, Soros donated $10 million to Clinton's presidential campaign. His plans backfired when Trump was elected, and it's clear his schemes will no longer be tolerated in this country. Woman caught red-handed in welfare fraud. When you see who her husband is, you'll be outraged. The left may be willing to turn a blind eye to it, but welfare programs are riddled with fraud. There are many people taking advantage of these programs, designed to give temporary assistance to those who truly need it. Unfortunately, welfare does very little to combat poverty. According to recent reports, an Arlington, Virginia woman was arrested this week and charged with 4 counts of welfare fraud for collecting over $100,000 in benefits. At the time, her husband was a high-earning attorney in Washington, D.C. A 6-month investigation into Helen Agbapuruonwu, 41, revealed that the mother of 4 had collected food stamps and Medicaid assistance for 6 years. In that same period, her husband Fidelis Agbapuruonwu was earning $1.5 million per year as a lawyer. Though her husband was not formally charged, there is evidence he participated in the fraud. Court officials believe Fidelis has fled the country and is somewhere in Africa. The disturbing story highlights a growing problem in this country. As welfare programs grow, hard-working American taxpayers end up subsidizing the lives of people who are more than capable of surviving on their own. Breaking: Democrats launch disturbing plan to impeach Trump. They've had enough. Democrats have just filed an article of impeachment against President Donald Trump, new reports say. California Representative Brad Sherman and co-sponsor Texas Representative Al Green introduced the article of impeachment on Wednesday. The article accuses the president of obstructing justice during the federal investigation into Russia's alleged meddling in last year's election. The 2 Democrats claim that Trump's decision to fire James Comey is his biggest offense, and rely on Comey's allegations that Trump pressured him to drop the FBI's investigation into Michael Flynn as proof. The article of impeachment reportedly states, in all of this, Donald John Trump has acted in a manner contrary to his trust as president and subversive of constitutional government, to the great prejudice of the cause of law and justice and to the manifest injury of the people of the United States. Wherefore, Donald John Trump, by such conduct, warrants impeachment and trial, and removal from office. Of course, this measure has little chance of going anywhere, especially with Republicans in control. This is yet another desperate attempt by Democrats to regain power. What do you think of the effort? Fox fans demand Shep Smith be fired for what he just said about Trump Jr. Shep Smith has earned a reputation for being the most anti-Trump host at Fox News. Now, many fans are calling for him to be fired after he took an attack on the president's oldest son way too far. Donald Jr. was in hot water this week when the media reported that he had met with a Russian lawyer during the election in hopes of getting dirt on Hillary Clinton. He responded to the controversy by releasing his email threat with the lawyer in an attempt to head off the attack from the New York Times. Though many were impressed with his transparency, Smith took a very different approach. His transparency came minutes before he had been made aware that the New York Times would be publishing the same emails this released. Is that correct? Smith asked Associated Press reporter Julie Bykowicz's. Bykowicz's acknowledged this was, indeed, the case. So transparency is something that normally happens prior to learning that somebody else is about to document dump you. Normally that word wouldn't be used in this circumstance, Smith continued. Each change in explanation happened after the New York Times brought out more of this information. Their story changes happen every time the Times brings out more relevant information. Twitter users weren't happy with Smith's accusations. Warning: Democrats just passed a devastating bill. Gun confiscation coming your way. Oregon Democrats have just passed a bill that impacts gun owners all over the United States. The measure, sponsored by Senator Brian Bockwist, allows a judge to issue an ex parte ruling for the confiscation of an individual's firearms. The SB 719 bill has now passed in Oregon's House and Senate, creating an extreme risk protection order which forces the subject of the order to hand over all firearms. This repo could be obtained by a law enforcement officer, family member, or household member in an ex parte hearing to deprive someone of their Second Amendment rights without due process of the law. Bockwist has maintained that his bill is not confiscation, but the language of the measure tells a different story, requires court to order respondent to surrender deadly weapons and concealed handgun license within 24 hours of service of initial order, and immediately upon service of continued or renewed order. Provides for law enforcement officer serving order to request immediate surrender of deadly weapons and concealed handgun license and authorizes law enforcement officer to take possession of surrendered items. What do you think? Are you against this measure? Breaking: Tim Kaine accuses Donald Trump Jr. of treason. Things are about to get messy. Earlier this week, Tim Kaine commented that Donald Trump Jr.'s actions could be considered treason. Before we get too far into that, let's take a look at what treason really is. Treason requires not just aid and comfort to the enemy, but also adhering to them. Of course, a country which we maintain diplomatic relations with are not considered an enemy. But even if Russia did earn that title, were Trump Jr.'s attempts to dig up dirt on Hillary Clinton really severe enough to be called adherence? The legal bar for treason is high, and understandably so. But that doesn't mean Trump Jr. is off the hook. He could still be charged with criminal conspiracy. Absolutely, former Clinton White House lawyer Jeffrey Jakubowicz replied when asked if the emails firm up evidence Trump Jr. had intent to commit a crime by conspiring with Russia. You may have crossed the line on conspiracy to commit election fraud or conspiracy to obtain information from a foreign adversary. You cannot benefit from a foreign adversary in this kind of scenario. Jakubowicz also argues that Trump Jr.'s actions are as clear of intent as you can get. If he received an email in advance saying this is coming from the Russian government, he's certainly knowledgeable about where the information is coming from, Jakubowicz said. And he attempts to attend a meeting with the hope and intent to obtain inside dirt on Hillary Clinton. That would go a long way in trying to determine whether it's conspiracy. It's not as if he walks into the meeting and he's surprised by what he's hearing. What do you think of this? Mark Wahlberg blackballed by Hollywood for saying this about Trump. In a recent interview, actor Mark Wahlberg spoke out against celebrities publicly engaging in politics. "Look, I've never gone out and talked about politics. I'm an actor. Both Republicans and Democrats buy movie tickets," Wahlberg told Yahoo Finance at the Manhattan opening of Wahlburgers, his family's burger chain. Wahlberg went on to note that people are entitled to their opinions, but celebrities should not be using their platforms to push their own political agendas. He also alluded to the fact that Donald Trump was not his first choice for president, but that doesn't matter. I had a strong opinion and I didn't choose to voice it out in the public, but now that somebody is in office, let's just all come together and rally around him and make sure he has the best chance to succeed, Wahlberg said, adding that his love for the country outweighs any disagreements he has with the president. For better or for worse, this is our country, he told Yahoo Finance. At least for the next 3.5 years, he's going to be making a lot of decisions. So let's go out there and try to make positive change. This is not the first time Wahlberg spoke out against actors getting political. A lot of Hollywood is living in a bubble, he said back in November. They're pretty out of touch with the common person, the everyday guy out there providing for their family.